am Giacomo Ponzetto, and my project is about citizens, institutions, and globalization. So the objective is to understand the link between the three and when and whether citizens support the policies that promote gains from globalization and when instead they oppose them, sometimes mistakenly. Questions that my project attempts to answer are of two kinds, really. Some are more directly policy-related questions. I want to think about protectionism and why voters support anti-trade policies that are harmful for society as a whole. Second is spatial misallocation. We know that in most countries, economic activity is insufficiently concentrated in the most productive places like San Francisco or London or Barcelona. And yet, the public policy specifically goes against this. And the third is how the structure of government, and particularly the spatial structure of government, reacts to the challenges and opportunities of globalization. There's another set of questions that are more methodological in nature, which concern trying to bring voters' psychology into the picture. And so there will be specifically, once again, two things that I plan to do. One is trying to understand how voters systematically misinterpret the consequences of policies because of their differential salience. We tend to overestimate the importance of attributes that vary a lot and underestimate those that vary a little. The second bias is the fundamental result of social psychology, and that's saying that we all understand that what we do is a consequence of our environment, or we would say as economists, a reaction to incentives, but we tend to think that what other people do is not. And that, of course, makes it impossible, or very hard at least, for people to understand the general equilibrium. The expected challenges that I find most worrying concern data availability to bring the theory to the data, to reality. And this is difficult because the answers and the questions belong to two domains, both of which are independently difficult to get empirical evidence on. One is the macroeconomic domain of big policy changes. The other set of questions that are similarly problematic to test but for different reasons are those that concern voter psychology. So the first thing that we're going to try and do with the data is to test whether more information about a sector reduces protectionism. A methodological contribution that I think is very timely, which is thinking about behavioral economics in political science and political economy, and how do voters think about policy choices and elections and policy making. And then also in the context of policy, globalization is very important. And Danny Roderick in particular has been speaking of a new trilemma where you can have two out of democratic politics, national sovereignty and global economic integration, but not all three. And thinking rigorously about this trilemma is extremely important for reality and very important for economics as well.